So we're introducing a new asset here, which is Bitcoin. But what we tried to do is where not needed, not change other things that investors were used to give comfort, right? So I
Hmm.
would say, like, if you're going to do something innovative, just change one variable at one time. So what we tried to do is put all the similar blocks that were built up to do, like, let's say, auto loan financing or credit card financing, other types of assets that were really common for asset-backed security structures. So first off, what we did was we used a credible custodian called Fidelity, the same
I've
traditional
heard of them.
finance.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So we said, okay, let's pick a name brand that's investors are comfortable with. And so they can, it's like you want to go through and present something and then you want to hear people say, like, no further questions, Your Honor, right? That's the
Right.
activity you're looking for as you go through that. And brands and experience really help with that. They help build comfort and that there's expertise there. So maybe I should just first, again, just reiterate the structure of the loan. So this
Yeah.
actually wasn't a Bitcoin financing. This is a securitization of consumer loans that have Bitcoin as collateral backing them. So again, that's a similar structure that auto loans would work at. So I use the auto loans framework a lot when I was educating investors around the structure. So we took approximately 5,000 of our existing consumer Bitcoin backed loans, vended them into a new trust, and then move the collateral, being Bitcoin, associated with those loans into Fidelity as the custodian. So Fidelity, when you think about Bitcoin custody, you also have to break it down into technical custody and legal custody. I use those two
Okay.
frameworks because people get really concerned. Well, how do I know the Bitcoin isn't going to get hacked, right? So that's where technical custody comes in. That's the expertise to keep effectively the passwords to Bitcoin, which the industry calls private keys, offline and secure. So that's what Fidelity has done. They've invested a lot of money and time to say, this is the security practices we're going to put around our Bitcoin custody. And then they also act as traditional legal custodians. Ledn, as sponsor of the ABS, can say to Fidelity, move the Bitcoin here. And then, just like a traditional custody arrangement, if for whatever reason Ledn is no longer in business, group, the investors taking security and stepping in to resolve that concern, can say to the custodian, Fidelity, we're now in charge, move the Bitcoin here, right? So it follows a traditional custody framework on those two attributes. Um, Importantly, investors also said, well, we're not in the business of liquidating or servicing Bitcoin. We want to also know that there's someone with expertise. So we brought in Zaria, which is a company that comes from actually the founder was previously at Silicon Valley Bank and working on some of their practices coming into the space. So was up to speed on Bitcoin financing, and she saw this as a gap in moving along Bitcoin backed loans, and so she created a company specifically around creating backup services for products like Ledn's as it came in. So they've been great to work with, and so they're another piece of the pie as
And
we
I should
assemble it.
I
Yeah,
should mention very quickly, Emily Barron is who you're speaking of, the CEO,
that's
the
right. Yeah,
co-founder of Zaria, I should say. And just for listeners, if you're interested in that aspect, Emily was also a guest on the podcast, and we went, we took a deep dive into what Zaria does and how, and it was prior to your transaction. We actually didn't
cool.
discuss your
Okay.
transaction
Yeah.
on the pod, but we talked about that the importance of having a backup servicer on transactions like this.